And you're very welcome back to the Irish Wheelchair Association Premier League basketball between Leicester and DCU Saints. Just under 5 minutes to go to the start of our second half. I'm delighted to be joined by one of the members of the Leicester treble winning team of 74, 75 and 76. That's Noel Keating. And Noel was also Chief Executive of Basketball Ireland in the great days of the 80s. Noel, you're very welcome. Going from Leicester, going from being a primary school teacher to being Chief Executive of the Basketball Association.
Yeah, I suppose I was very lucky to join Leicester in 1970, just when I left St. Pat's. And thanks to, I suppose, my friendship with Michael Casey and then Eamon McCarthy, I got very involved in basketball. And in fact, Michael Casey approached me about 1972, I think, asking me would I like to go to the south of Spain on a one-way ticket to see what this mini basketball was all about. So I said, sure, why not? I was 2 years into the job and I was had a long summer holidays. So I took the one-way ticket and went down to the south of Spain and brought all the stuff back on mini basketball. And that led to the formation of mini ball, it was called, in 1972, because Michael was president as well. So then I joined the committee as the mini basketball rep. And I stayed as the mini basketball rep on the national committee right up to about 79, and then I became PRO. And then the president resigned halfway through and I became president. And that was the time of the Americans coming to Ireland for the first time. And it was a rather traumatic time for the association because there were all sorts of regulations and so on. But we came out of it very strong and we reorganised the organisation and professionalised it. And then I took a break and they were looking for a full-time chief executive. So I decided to leave the principalship of a school, chuck it all in and took on the job. And it was a fantastic 13 years experience. Very, very enjoyable.
I was going to ask the question, were you mad?
I was, but I was young. I mean, I was president at 29 years of age. That would never happen in any other organisation. So we had a tremendous belief in the game of basketball. And I suppose one of the things happened was that in 1981, we began to make connections with America. And we set up a foundation over there. We started bringing teams over, national teams every year. So, I mean, that was tremendously inspirational. We really thought we were going to build basketball into one of the biggest sports in the country. And we were full of enthusiasm. I suppose, unfortunately, it was difficult to emulate the work that was done, particularly in Cork. And we didn't have the stadia in Ireland, in Dublin, that is. So I suppose that led also to the whole project in the building of a national basketball arena. And that was a very exciting project as well. So, I mean, the game was played in front of larger crowds, but in fact, I do get a great sense now that there's renewed energy in the game. And I think there's a momentum developing in the game. And I think we're going to see basketball growing and growing in the next couple of years.
I felt that myself because I was around with you in the early days, obviously, of the two Americans and some of the great players like Terry Strickland and Jasper McElroy and Kelvin Troy and Mario Eli, who went on to win 3 NBA titles. That was exciting for you as for want of a better word, a pretty rookie chief executive.
Oh yeah, I was very, very young at the time. But I'd also say that, funny enough, when we went from 2 Americans to 1 American, we had a situation where the Ballina group came through and then Delta came through. So those exciting times continued even after the 2 Americans went to 1 American. But also, by the way, just a little correction, I didn't make the 3-in-a-row team. What we actually did at the time was we set up a second team, and we had 2 teams in the National League that year. But I'm afraid I was in the second team.
Well, your colleagues are being introduced to the fans here now, which is great to see. Unfortunately, 1 or 2 of them not with us anymore, and 1 or 2 just couldn't be with us tonight. But a very special group.
Yeah, they were very, very good athletes. So you had a mix of very, very good athletes, guys who were fanatical about the game, and then a remarkable coach, Eamon McCarthy, who was ahead of his time. So that combination, the enthusiasm of the players, the ability of the players, and a great coach. And that's why they went on to win 3 in a row.
You briefly mentioned there that you thought basketball was coming back. these are two of the great clubs. And I think we discussed this during the week. In actual fact, I think they're probably the only two clubs that are in the league since the start.
Yeah, that's it. You'd Vincent's Demons, to my knowledge, Vincent's Demons and Killester. I think they're the only three who've maintained the regular involvement in the National League. But as quite an aside, one of the things I'm doing now in retirement, a number of retired teachers, we've got involved in reorganising mini basketball, and the reaction we're getting around the country is just phenomenal. We've gone from 2 or 3 years ago, there were no affiliated. Now we've 10 affiliated units around the country. So that's where I'm saying there's an enthusiasm for the game right around the country, and I'm looking at a Killester team here tonight which is really good, and I'm sure the remaining games against Demons in the league and then hopefully in the playoffs will be something to watch.
And of course UL will be here in the final game of the season, which could be a crucial one depending on how that game in the Mardyke goes.
Yeah, I mean, what you've got is this recent phenomenon of the involvement with the universities, and certainly in UL, it's one of the examples where it's really paying off.
Noel Keating, thank you very much.